It's almost hard to know where to start. How to trim your helicopters in 2024 is literally like the holy grail of what's happening right now. The system that Microsoft has put in place is mind melting, and it's wrong on so many levels. It bothers me that they had a working platform last time and they didn't use it as a base for the second one. I think we need to just get into this and see how it goes, and I don't plan on this going perfectly. I'll tell you that right off the start. However, first tip, don't do your trim settings while on the planet. Do it from this start. Start with a free flight. Choose the aircraft that you would like to trim. I am going to trim something that hasn't been trimmed before, show you the before and after, and see if it works. I will also say that this is so glitchy that sometimes it takes effect on a particular aircraft and sometimes it doesn't. I believe, and this is speculative at this point, but I think what's happened is that there isn't any type of normal coding that every single aircraft is required to have, or there's some further issues with Microsoft's key binding solutions. So we're going to spawn into a helipad with a chopper. We're going to hopefully be able to find a way to get inside of this, because already I know that this is going to be a completely different binding from anything I've flown so far, and I'm not expecting my key bindings to be where they are. They aren't. But we're in the outside of the aircraft, and this is about trims and what it looks like before you trim. So I'm just going to take off the ground and see how this chopper flies. It is okay. But once I start going into a downward nose configuration, trying to build up speed, if I let go of my cyclic, the nose is going to pop up and continue to climb until I regain control with my hand. Trim is supposed to allow you to fly relatively hands loose, not hands free, but hands loose on the controls. You shouldn't have to have an arm wrestling match with it. The same thing for this, right? It is automatically pulling up. So this is before trim. The only thing I'm doing is manipulating the cyclic control of this helicopter. I'm going to exit back to end the flight. Again, I do not want to make these changes while on the planet. I'm going to go back one more time off the menu. Why we have to go through this, I don't know. I didn't make the software. This is just the procedure that I have found that sometimes, quote unquote, sometimes works. Now that I have the helicopter selected, it stays relatively labeled in the upper left-hand corner. So I know that if I go into the settings wheel in the upper right-hand corner, the controls that I'll be modifying will be associated with that aircraft. Look towards the left side. It says what my HOTAS is. It's the T16000M by Thrustmaster. All of the words aren't even visible. The way they have put this together is horribly done. I'm just being blunt and honest. This is ridiculous. General controls. This is the first time I've been into this helicopter. My general controls say the T16000M 2024 transversal. If I could get anybody out there to give me a description and a definition of why they would use the word transversal when it comes to a general controls feature, please let any one of us know. It does not make sense. It doesn't have any description of what that is. Helicopter controls say my new helicopter profile. And the specific ones below that say the 205 A1B Orange County Sheriff High Skids controls are none. So there's nothing specific about this aircraft. Is that what that's saying? Because if I go to the right arrow and click it, it does not have an option left or right. Some aircraft have it, others don't. If there are peripherals like a hoist and things like that, it's probably going to have something specific to that aircraft. So let's dive further. I know where I want to map my trims on my HOTAS. It's almost always on some kind of hat switch or a dial. I'm going to use a hat switch. So I'm going to use the one that's on the center, by the thumb at the very top of my collective, hopefully. So when we're on this list, we see a button that says search by input. Now before I press this, please take notice of the escape, save and back buttons, as well as filters, none, that are available in the bottom left-hand corner. When I click search by input, those two buttons in the lower left-hand corner vanish. Now it's looking for a scan. I'm going to press up on that hat switch, and you can see now that it has 3 different key bindings attached to one button. External quick view top, next pilot position, and decrease rotor longitudinal trim. I don't want all 3 of those actions happening simultaneously. The number 2 that you see here, again, relates to the number of conflicts that are on this video. Or not on this video, that are on this specific control. To get rid of these, I can hover my cursor over the top of it and just hit backspace for the ones that I do want. Take note. Now, since I'm altering a new profile, it is asking me to duplicate a profile. Please enter a name for this new input profile. And again, it randomly selects my new general profile. But I'm going to call this one the Huey 205. And I'm going to hit OK. I haven't tried to do the apply to all aircraft. I'm a little afraid to. There is the option to reset defaults, but I've put so much time into this, I don't know if I want to risk it at this point. So now you can see that I still have these 2 decrease rotor longitudinal trim and next pilot position controls on the same button press. The other one I want to get rid of is the next pilot position. Hover the cursor, hit delete, it goes away. The number 1 goes away because now there's no more conflicts. Moving on. So now that was the up button. Let's go to the down button. Press down, 3 more. We're going to have to do the exact same thing. I'm deleting the ones that I do not want there. It appears that there are no conflicts. Search by input. I'm going to move that same hat switch to the left. And now I'm going to come up to this one, cockpit view, not external quick bit, not rotor lateral trim I want to leave. So now I'm going to do previous instrument view and delete that one. No conflicts out of those buttons. So now we're going to go to the right. After hitting select, we're going to find the ones that we don't want again and hold that cursor over it. Press the backspace key. Press the backspace key. Make sure you're keeping a close eye, because sometimes these will switch positions in between you hitting delete or backspace to get rid of these. Be careful. Otherwise, you're going to be doing this 6 times, 7 times. It gets out of hand. So now that we have those buttons taken care of, I think we need one more, which is a trim set or something along those lines. Maybe this aircraft calls it something different. So what I'm going to do is, again, on my collective, I'm going to do a search by input where I want to map this button to see what is already mapped there. Search by input, press the button. Rotor trim reset is already there. How does it know that? I don't know. Maybe it's just by chance. Cool, but I believe, and this I'm going to put big quotes around that, I believe that rotor trim reset should be decent. I could put it somewhere else. I might be able to put it, since I'm on the hat switch on top, I might be able to put it by that button by my thumb up there. All right, so if I go search by that, okay, now trim reset is already there. It's in here 2 different times. Open the comms panel. Let's go ahead and delete it. And almost every single one of these button mappings is shipped to you with a conflict. This is a great way to send your flight simmers, professional photographers, or just gamers into a tizzy about how horrible your UI is. Your user interface is garbage, Microsoft. This is garbage. Let's see what this has done to the aircraft. Go back, save and back. Let the computer catch up. You're streaming this data, so is everyone else on the planet, right? Let it breathe a little bit. Let it shake the legs out, and then come into your airport. Find a spot to take off. Set a departure. Let it breathe. Start flying. I'm going to cross my fingers and toes to see what happens. I'm not sure why, but it looks like I have some top messages up here. But I'm not being able to see what these are doing. So really sorry about chat today, guys. I'm not sure what's going on. We can have a discussion in a later one. I'll kind of get back and work on what's happening with that chat. However, moving on. So why is it all of a sudden that this aircraft has spawned with somebody literally living in the door of the helicopter? People are still being generated around. He's literally standing inside of the airframe of this helicopter. The number of bugs makes me want to scream. Because this is where you would normally start your walk around on your aircraft, right? Halfway in between the fuselage. Really, though? Really? I don't even want to go through the hassle of all of this nonsense. I'm going back to the end flight. Sorry for the delay. It's the frustration getting to me. I'm just going to spawn in at the end of a runway, so this thing already has its prop spinning by the time we get there. And maybe, just maybe, we'll finally have a solution. I'm going to set it as departure. I'm going to start the flight. Whether or not this will work, even though I think with every aircraft that I have tested this in, it seems to be working. Okay, here we go again. You saw me just click at the end of the runway, and it put me back onto the helipad. Microsoft, Asobo, and to the rest of the team, you have a wonderful product. You rushed this delivery, and absolutely, this is not okay. However, it spawned in this time as if it were on the end of a runway. Now, flight characteristics are very similar to what they were the first time we spawned in. Now let's see if my trims are working on my collective. I'm just going to, in any orientation while I'm flying, try to do the increase, decrease, and see, just see if it works. Some of these are more sensitive than others. And of course, in Microsoft and Asobo's infinite wisdom, they decided not to put any control sensitivity options into these if you were using something like an Axis. It doesn't even give you the option to control the input value, even though they give you the option of how many times you want a button to experience that command every time you press it. So I'm going to try to press and hold. I'm going to try to press and hold again. It does tip the nose down. Now I am hands off. I'm going to press and hold to the left to try to get it to come flat. There she goes. She's starting to slowly come around. A little bit more, pressing and holding to the left. She's coming around. Starting to get a little bit past that. There we go. Now I'm going to the right just a little bit, but it's a press and hold. Now I'm trimmed. For the most part, I am hands off with this aircraft. I've got some tail rudder authority. It's a little bit bouncy like every other aircraft in here besides the H-160 that we did last night. However, we came into a helicopter we've never flown before. We've gone through just a few settings in a few different minutes, and I have a trimmed aircraft. I am hands off the aircraft. I could get up and walk away from my desk right now if this thing was at altitude and know that even without an autopilot on, I don't have to have an arm wrestling match with my collective and cyclic the whole time to get these trimmed out. Much better experience. Much, much, much better experience. But do it while you are not on the planet's surface. I am barely holding my controls, and she flies almost just like that H-160. If you didn't see the H-160 video from last night and you're interested in SAR missions, you're tired of career, I have a feeling that that video from last night actually might share something with you that's extremely exciting, that isn't quite ready just yet, but soon. I have a feeling that the company Hype Performance Group is a partner of Microsoft's, is working on their aircraft to be more compatible with the career missions, and even doing search and rescue outside of the careers in free flight. Check that video out if you want to see exactly like a little bit more about where I'm flying and what the H-160 is capable of doing. I'm actually flying in the same video today, or in the same location today as I am in the one that we did last night. So let's see. We have a workable aircraft. Trim is working. I want to put this aircraft down nice and easy if possible. Now that this thing is trimmed out, quote unquote, I should not need an arm wrestling match, and I should even be able to input trim on my way down, because you almost always want to use trims while you are flying a helicopter. It is one of the most important parts to not tiring yourself out. You should make minimal inputs into your control surfaces the entire time, and that is managed with trim. Of course, the ground effect has a lot to do with how the aircraft reacts in the area, but I am barely touching my controls. Every once in a while, I'm doing a beep trim, 1-2 times, just a quick tap tap, and it becomes a lot more manageable. It's not an arm wrestling match. I am 2 fingers on the, just barely on the controls right now. I could tap tap a couple more times, and it's going to start to come a little bit easier. All the tests that I've conducted up to this point are pointing to this specific technique of button binding to be effective. Let's try it in real time on a different aircraft. I'm going to go all the way back to the main menu. I am going to let the cache clear ever so gently, because you have to remember that this is all being streamed. If you rush it while you're on a PC, there's a very good chance you're going to crash the desktop or freeze the sim. We'll go to free flight. We're going to choose a brand new helicopter. I'm not even going to choose one of the different Hueys. Let's try something again. Let's try the Ericsson. Let's go to this settings wheel in the upper right hand corner. If I go to controls, even though I just did all of these settings, what happens if I search the collect or the cyclics inputs? Look at every one of them is there. Again, delete. It's asking me for a brand new profile one more time. I would recommend doing it this way, or possibly trying the applied to all aircraft. I'm tempted to test it, but at the same time I'm not, because I think that what's going to happen is this also going to affect the controls of airplanes. Maybe that doesn't matter to you. Maybe you are never in a fixed wing. But I occasionally like to do some GA flying. It's just, you know, every once in a while it's a nice little break from what we're doing here. However, I dye the grass. I'm going to once again just type in Sky Crane. Hit OK. And continue. Moving these into a configuration that makes a little bit of sense. Only one button is doing one thing. Increasing or decreasing a trim. It's not going to be removing previous pilot positions or anything along. You know, one button does one thing. But again, we're talking about this is a way that Microsoft has delivered this product to all of us, with conflicts built right in. Again, be careful. Did you see that one just switch positions from the second to the first? Because it is trying to do this alphabetically, I think. Either way. It's a mind melter. We will see if this works. Now, we didn't go in here and actually see what this performed like prior to doing this. I'm just going to go ahead and do it and see if we can go out of the box and get it to work. Cockpit view left, doesn't want it. External, nope. Yes, I want that one. No, I don't want that one. Okay, I have one more to do over here. Okay, so that one's by itself. This one's by itself. By itself. I'm just double checking these inputs, right? Better safe than sorry. Then we're going to go back into our reset. See, this one on the other configuration had the reset here. So let's go to trim. Let's see if we can do reset. There it is. It has it on a different button altogether. I am just going to backspace. That's what a backspace did. Okay. See, now it didn't highlight it. It literally left it black, and oh my goodness. So now we need to go rotor trim reset with our button 8 on the joystick, and I think I actually wanted that here instead. Rotor trim resets the center thumb just under the cyclic's hat switch. Go back, save, and of course you can map your buttons wherever you want. You can map them what feels comfortable to you, but do it while you are not on the surface. Name it a unique name, so every time you go back into that aircraft, this simulator should be recognizing that you have previously configured the trim settings for that aircraft, or any other settings that you want to bind. This has been the most frustrating part of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 for a lot of people, up to and including myself. And I sincerely hope that this is the solution we've all been waiting for. It seems to be working on almost every aircraft that I've done it to, up to this point. But like I said, every aircraft's kind of responding slightly different. Some are just a single quick press of the trim. Some are a little bit of a press and hold. After this specific flight, I want to go back in and show you some options with the controls that aren't even possible with trims. From outside the helicopter again, let's see what happens. It starts to spin a little bit, but it's got an overall stable flight platform. It wants to tilt up just a little bit, so I'm going to incrementally push that nose forward with only the trim. There she goes. She's bending down. She wants to kind of go a little bit to the right at the same time, but it responded. It is a matter of how hard you press the button and how the model is interpreting that button press. Is it expecting to be a press and hold? Is it expecting to be a single quick button press and do incremental movements, one increment at a time? We don't know what they programmed into each model, and I do not think that there was a model template for these trim controls. It doesn't feel like it. This one appears to be something like a press and hold. It takes quite a while, and it's kind of like a press, hold, and bump in between. So press, hold, release, press, hold, release, press, hold, release. I'm hands off. It wants to go straight up, right? So here's another one that we kind of have to really mess around with. I can feel it reacting to the trims, but it's kind of a matter of finding out how much input is really needed to get the trim to work. If I do the trim reset and let go, she still wants to come right up, okay? I don't know for a fact just yet when in this process trim reset should be pressed. I've tried it on the ground. I've tried it when I feel like the aircraft is in a flyable straight condition. Sometimes it performs, other times it doesn't. This section of the simulator is bugged more than I think any other port of the simulator. And it is an essential part of the simulator that they should not have fallen this far behind on. If there's anything disappointing about Microsoft Flight Simulator 24 is how they delivered their key bindings to the pilots. I cannot get... I like those too. The rotor blades are really... They're bendy with the response of the collective like that. Interesting side note there. Okay, so even if I do hands up, she wants to just go nose up. It reacted left and right, but this is not reacting the way I would expect a trim to work, either if it was a beep trim or something like a wheel that you would kind of roll so you could set a level. Okay, now I am hands off. It's more in a hover than it is in forward flight. It does want to sort of tip the nose down, and now it seems to be reacting to my trim inputs a little bit at a time. It's like it decides when and if it's going to work for you on its own. At least that's how it feels to me. Once again, hands off, it wants to go up because I put a little bit of a forward flight into it, right? And again, all of those key bindings that I had set up to get in and out of my cockpit on this aircraft are gone. And they will need to be reset on every single aircraft because I am a little too nervous to do aircraft all. I don't want to waste that much time. Hopefully I'm not wasting your time with this video, and hopefully this is helpful. I hope it helps. I have also found something about this career mode that could save you guys some money. This is a little tidbit for everybody who stayed towards the end. In career mode, there's a little bonus tip right here. There's ways to spend money without you even knowing it, buried in this career mode. The simulator is going to spend your money without you knowing it on insurance, because it did say that it was going to charge you for the influence every 20, or for the insurance every 24 hours. I'm going to manage my companies. Go to manage companies. And you can see right now that I have the Capri G2 crew set to off. This is detrimental to your bank account. If you have this, by pressing that icon, if you have that crew available set to on, and you are in a free flight, you are putting hours in the air that count towards your experience level within your company. And it's charging you insurance to fly in free flight. You're like, dude, no way, man, I don't believe you. Oh, really? Then what's this? This is a broken screen that Microsoft has delivered us. I love this. This is becoming more and more comical by the day. An insurance bill with an unidentified number. This system is also not working. It gave me the message. It's told me it's billing me. It did remove money from the account. But it doesn't list an aircraft company, duration, bill, or insurance. So, make sure that if you leave your activities that you're conducting in your company in an off configuration for the crew available before going back into free flight. It'll save you some money. That's all I've got today. I don't want to go any further than that. I am literally walking away from the simulator for the rest of the day today. Hopefully. I don't know. I might not. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, this is possibly the holy grail to how trim helicopters 2024 actually works. Let me know if it was helpful. send me a comment. I appreciate your subscriptions, likes, all of you. Thank you very much. We'll see you.